Hi, this is Adam and Phil from the Ukulele School. This is our series of videos called Play Ukulele, and today what we're going to show you is some percussive techniques on the ukulele.
Okay, so I'm going to put on my other musical hat for this one, because as well as being a ukulele player, I'm also a trained classical percussionist. So
What?
I'm going to do some kind of proper percussion techniques on here as well. I think before we get too far into this though, I think we should probably just make a quick point about your own ukulele.
Yeah.
Because depending on what your ukulele is made out of, depending on the size, the kind of exact dimensions of it, not all of these techniques are going to work on your ukulele, and you might find that your ukulele suits.
Yeah, I mean, most of the techniques will work. I think you might be unselling us there. Yeah. They'll work, you just might not get the same sound. Because, for example, the most basic idea is if you've got a ukulele that plugs in, which mine doesn't, if you hit where that pickup is, you get a much boomier boom. And if you look on YouTube, you'll see people doing great like percussive stuff, and the thump is like boom, because they're hitting right where
because they're basically hitting a microphone underneath.
Yeah, so you get that good microphone like testing sound. But if you haven't got that, you're not gonna ever get that like a boom. So don't look for the boom, just look for a different sound.
Yeah, absolutely. So the basics is we've got a box here, okay, and this box is not unlike a cajon or a bongo or something like that. We've got a nice hollow box, so we can make a whole variety of sounds. So we could start with something very simple, like just both hands on the bottom part of the ukulele. Kind of playing
simple
nice
like that.
It's not too bad. So we're just basically playing around with rhythm. We could do that sort of a rhythm. That sort of thing. Now that's great. The problem with that is that you can't particularly strum at the same time.
But I'm here, so I can.
Yeah, so if you're in a pedal, so that's great for kind of ensemble duet work. It's not going to be so good for when you're playing. So what we need to work on now is trying to strum and create percussive sounds at the same time. Okay.
Okay, so the first sound we want to talk about is the bass sound. And as we talked about previously, yours might not sound exactly like ours, and even mine and Adam's, they're not going to sound the same. So basically what you're doing is you're taking your thumb and you're smacking the ukulele. And you want to think like a drummer, you want that bounce, you don't want to stop it dead, you do want to bounce it, because effectively you're treating the top of the ukulele like a drum skin.
Absolutely. Again, you're going to find that hitting in different places on your ukulele is going to create different sounds. And actually, as well as finding your kind of perfect sound on yours, you might find that for certain songs, certain styles, actually hitting it in different places is going to give you a better tone. So I'm going to go as sort of deepest, lowest, most resonant I can get, which for me is kind of in that middle section right underneath the bridge.
Mine is kind of down here. Yeah. Mine's better right down the bottom there. Which you can't,
and what we're going to do is we're going to do it with our thumb. We're going to keep our thumb nice and rigid, and what we're going to do is basically flick our thumb onto the ukulele. Yeah. Now we want it to be strumming as well, so should we start with just a Z chord?
Okay, so the Z chord is basically the easiest chord on the ukulele. You put your hands flat, you don't push down very hard, and you hit you strum the strings.
You just strum the strings. Exactly the same way you would normally, but we're just muting them with that hand. Yeah. It's known as the Z chord.
James Hill called it the Z chord. I'm sure he called it the Z chord.
Someone calls it the Z chord.
But interestingly, in music, if it's ever written, it's X's. So I don't know why it was never called it should have been the X chord, really.
Usually written as little crosses, to kind of basically to point out that you're not really playing a sound, it's just a percussive effect.
Yeah. Okay.
Now we're going to mix that with the bass one that we showed you earlier. Yeah. And we're going to do a really simple exercise. We'll start it slow and then speed up. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a bass like that, and then we're going to do a strum up, down and up, bass, strum and bass, strum and bass, strum and bass, strum and bass.
So what you're doing here is essentially think of it like a bass and a snare drum. Now your snare drum's a little bit strange. You're probably not going to do a double snare drum every time, but that's kind of the feel that we're going for.
Yes, you got that kind of boom, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and you've got that what we call the backbeat on 2 and 4, which is where your snare drum would go. Also, where if you're going to clap properly at a concert, you should always be clapping on 2 and 4. You'll upset people very deeply if you clap on 1 and 3.
Also, I mean, you can just do a single. And then you can mix that up. So you go 1.
Absolutely, you can just mix between.
So what you're doing is just playing around with the rhythms there. And Adam was doing something interesting just before we started recording, which is like a double bass drum, like maybe a double kick you'd hit.
Almost like strumming. It's the same movement as doing a down and an up strum, but you're doing it actually just on the wood, so you can get that.
You get that like double bass drum. So if you think of it, it's like boom, cat, boom, boom, cat, boom, cat. And then obviously you can mix that all up. And then I suppose the next thing really is to change the Z chord to a chord so that it sounds like music.
And again, you can do that changing. Okay, so we're going to try that with just a simple C major, F major, G major pattern. So we're going to have that bass, snare, bass, snare, bass, snare. And I'm going to change chord at the same time.
So what we're going to do now is take what is our snare sound as a Z chord and turn it into now a percussive snare sound.
Yeah, more of a sort of clicking
by
sound.
Essentially flicking the ukulele. Yeah. That's going to hurt your finger. You're just going to have to.
Yeah, it's
just going to have to live with
suffer for your art, I'm afraid.
That's right. Yeah.
I tend to use this sort of first knuckle bone of my finger actually, and kind of do a.
Yeah, I don't. I just
treat it like a drumstick and
I
flick it.
I just flick it and just hit it with my nails.
And again, this is back to what we were saying. You might find that if you watch a lot of videos on percussive sounds, there will be people saying this is the correct way.
This is the way to do it.
It's not really. A lot of this percussive stuff, people are just working out as they go.
Yeah.
And what works best on your ukulele or what works best for you might be completely different to how anyone else does it. So I personally go for that kind of just. Again, it's similar to the thumb flick. I'm just flicking my finger and the bone of my finger against as close to the edge, to be honest, as I can get.
Yeah, whereas I'm more just hitting the middle, right in that wood bit there. I don't know how, like, the longevity of this idea, this technique. There's just as a side note, there's a guy called John Gom who plays a lot of percussive on guitar. Yeah. And his guitar is absolutely shredded because what he does things where he takes the picks and just like...
Yeah, absolutely.
And you look at his guitar, so I don't know how many he goes through in a year, but he just absolutely destroys his guitar. So maybe if you've got a really nice ukulele, you might not want to do all of these.
Use a cheaper one to do percussive sounds. So again, let's put that flick into a group, shall we?
Yeah.
So I'm going to again take C major, and we're going to kind of do a strum and flick and strum and flick and strum. Down, up, flick, and down, up, flick, and down, up, flick, and and again, if you change chord to F, and then to a G,
back to C.
And again, you can play around with it. You can do. Doubles, and then the last thing to do is to kind of combine more of these together.
So what we're going to do is put this all together now. So we're going to put the bass drum sound, we're going to add a strum, so it's not going to be a Z chord, it's going to be a chord as...
Though this does work with a Z chord.
Yeah, you could do a Z chord. And then the flick snare. Okay. Now, for this, what you're going to do is you're going to strum upwards every time, which might feel a bit strange. So the best thing to do with any of these techniques is to start slow and then build it up.
And again, don't feel you need to change chords straight away. Should we just do this sticking to a C major? I think.
Yeah.
So we're going to stick to a C major and we're just going to do bass, and then an up strum, and then a click, and then another strum. So bass, up, click, up, bass, up, click, up, bass, up. And again, you can keep this really, really slow style. We've sort of split it up a little bit, but you don't.
And actually, you kind of break the rule here with these sort of techniques. It is where it wouldn't be desirable to speed up normally in music. You don't want to like have this idea where you speed up. When you're doing these sorts of techniques, it is actually, I think, when you're practicing them, it is desirable to speed up.
Yeah, it is a good idea. It's just, and it's a question of, an old teacher of mine always used to refer to it as moving up a gear.
Right.
So you don't kind of do it as a constant speeding up.
No.
You do it at one speed until you're comfortable with that speed, and then you don't jump massively up in speed. You just notch it up a gear.
Yeah.
And once you're comfortable at that next level again, you just notch it up another gear, and you just keep going until you find that you're doing it really fast, but you're comfortable with it by that point.
Yeah, and like with anything, you're going to start and you're going to be going slap, up, click, up, slap, up, click, up, and really be thinking about it, and then eventually it's just going to become muscle memory. Because you don't want to be thinking about it, because you're going to have chords, and you might be singing as well with this.
Again, that does work with the Z chord, so. And makes a really nice intro there.
Yeah, there you go, you got your intro. And then.
And you're off.
There we go. We've just written a song. Right, cool. So, thanks for watching. If you liked our video, please like, please subscribe, please hit the bell so you can get further videos.
Absolutely, and don't forget to comment underneath, tell us what you think, tell us if there are any other ideas you've got for videos we could do.
Yeah, cool. And check out the other videos on our channel. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks.